Okay, James, I guess we'll get started.
Recording, yep.
Everybody ready? Okay, good morning, everyone. And every day we rise, it's a great day to be alive. Welcome to the Seven Cities Forums of Hampton Road presents Portsmouth Coffee Talks morning show. And we're here. My name is James Slim Overton, here with my co-hosts, Leah Drake Stitt and Thomas, the Colonel Chapman. Good morning, co-hosts.
Good morning. Good morning.
Can you believe this is the end of January already?
Already.
Yes.
Where did it go? A few more days and we'll be into February, but that's a good month too. Think how short that will be.
Oh my goodness.
28.
So we have to make the best of it. Anyway, we have a special guest with us this morning, and we have a retired engineer from NASA Langley, and his name is Michael Allen Chapman. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And
Got the stars behind him, James. Look, we're in the universe.
Get you motivated for the morning.
But Michael has been with us before, and so we're glad to have him back to update us on all the things he's doing and have a conversation with him. So, but before we get started, we'll let Colonel do his thing and let the Colonel start the conversation with his brother.
Yes. So I want to give us our disclaimer to keep us out of Facebook jail, and also to say the views or the statements stated on this program are the views of the hosts and our guests. And I need to put another disclaimer in. This is my younger brother, and Slim and I are cousins, and we are not kin to the
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. That's your distant cousin.
The ex-city manager of Portsmouth. I've been saving this one for a long time.
All Chapmans aren't related.
Yeah.
That's a different plantation. She was off a different plantation.
So yes.
No disrespect.
No
disrespect. But we had to put that disclaimer in just in case. I don't want nobody accusing me when I'm downtown. But Michael, you've had a great career, and tell us about how you got there. Where you went to
got there.
Qualifications, that kind of stuff.
How did I get here? You mean retired?
No.
Yes, retired, Michael.
Just that retirement and how do you prepare for retirement, but education and stuff like that to get that, because you have to build up to that.
Right. Okay, so I guess we go all the way back to elementary school, Portsmouth native, born in Portsmouth, right there in the Naval Hospital, right? I mean, you were there. Dad was Navy. We traveled a little bit, spent 6 years in Hawaii. I think I went to kindergarten there. At least I remember part of kindergarten there. Came back stateside up in Port Deposit, Bainbridge, Maryland area. And then we moved back to Virginia, and that's where Dad retired. Mm-hmm. And then I started in the Portsmouth school system at the old Cavalier Manor Elementary School, mm-hmm. 3rd grade, 4th grade on through. Then over at Moffett for a year. Then Academy Park Middle School, or whatever they called it back then. W. Waters Junior High. And then we moved to Chesapeake and started at Western Branch. And that's where I graduated in high school from, Western Branch. I was an honor grad. And I guess that's probably where my interest in math and science got sort of peaked or sort of channeled in that direction. Decided to, I wanted to pursue engineering in college. Mm-hmm. And back in those days, of course, you had the big fat catalog, like phone books, you get a bunch of them and you figure out where you want to go. No internet, you can't look and see what the campus was like. So I just kind of picked Virginia Tech, never had been there before, didn't know anything about it. And except for, it seemed like a lot of the Caucasian friends of mine, that's where they were going. And so I said, I'll try Virginia Tech. And that's first time I stepped foot on campus was the day that mom and dad dropped me off on campus and said, see you later.
It was almost like one of those Patches stories.
Yeah. I'm standing there with my bag.
Yeah.
Probably had some chicken in it or something. And,
what was it, 2 and 1 to go?
yes, right. So they leaving me, and but it all worked out. I mean, I say it's a series of luck. A lot of times when I talk to people, a lot of luck, but I think it was some divine intervention in there too, and also guidance that we got from our parents and people around my parents. Daddy always wanted me to be a physicist.
Mm-hmm.
I knew from high school that wasn't what I was going to be. It was just too many equations and everything. But it sort of got me looking towards the what's now called STEM track. The science and technology, engineering, and math. I was good at math, and I really liked it. And so I had an interest in electricity, although I never had done anything with electricity other than in the Scouts. I think you had this project where you can drive 2 nails in a board and connect it to the AC outlet, and you stick a hot dog across it, and you can cook the hot dog, right? And the ends be burned up, but the middle you can eat. So that was my, things like that where I got an interest from electricity. So I just picked electrical engineering, and so that was a good thing, I believe.
I remember that project.
Yeah. Probably still got that thing in somewhere around the house in the archive somewhere.
Yeah. But as the young folks coming through and you look at your own educational process, and we'll go back to days in high school, did you just take what is the bare minimum, or did you have to take some advanced classes? You mentioned that you was an honor student.
Yeah, I was an honor grad, but I wasn't valedictorian or anything like that. But yeah, you do. Well, back then, we're talking in the 70s now. So if you look at our selection of coursework, because we're all contemporaries back then, and you look at what kids have offered to them now, they are all completely different. There's so much more, so many different ways you can go now. But back then it was limited choices. So I took, math starting early. And by the time I graduated high school, in the 12th grade, I was taking pre-calculus or something like that, or whatever the highest math that they had at Western Branch. So that means I had gone through Algebra 1, Algebra 2, the trigs, geometry, and then, pre-calculus. And that was, I just did it because I just felt like I needed to be ready. And so a lot of people, well, let me backtrack a little bit. So that was then.
Right.
For folks that have, kids now, in the state of Virginia, you got basically 2 types of diplomas you can get. You got a standard diploma and you got an advanced diploma. And anybody that wants to pursue STEM, you would think quite naturally would be trying to get an advanced diploma, because that would make them more competitive when they apply to college and so forth, and to get them more prepared. But parents out there need to understand that just because your kid is pursuing an advanced diploma, that you can't rest on those laurels. Because an advanced diploma means the only requirement is you have to take 4 math classes and 4 science classes, and you can get an advanced diploma. For a standard diploma, you only need 3 credits of math and 3 credits of science. And so for that advanced diploma, you take Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry, and then that 4th one has to be something higher than Algebra 2. It could be a computer science class to even allow you to do that. So to think that your kid is going to graduate with an advanced diploma and then go apply, Virginia Tech or MIT or someplace like that, and going to do engineering or math or any STEM type career, that's that's not preparing them for the competition that they're going to face in getting admitted into college. Algebra 2 is not going to cut it.
Right.
So parents need they really need to start engineering their kids' future from middle school, because the only way you're going to come out of high school and have taken calculus where you should come out, you got to start back in middle school taking that advanced math and the algebra 1 and algebra 2. And so, this thing about an advanced diploma is sort of it's sort of a misnomer. It's not really advanced. You're not going to be a competitive student when you apply to UVA or even or Howard or someplace like that, or A&T, which is cranking out more Black engineers than anybody
That's right.
in the country. You're not going to be that competitive compared to other kids that they're coming out and they've already seen calculus. I always tell this story, and this is the truth. Even though I had a little bit of calculus in high school, when I got to campus at Virginia Tech and took that 5-hour calculus as a freshman, they went through everything I knew in about the first 2 days. And then I was on the struggle bus from there. But at least I had seen it. And I know a lot of people they were just seeing it for the first time, and they really had some hardships and they needed remediation. And a lot of people, you have certain trigger courses, like rock classes, or the change your major classes, or to come to Jesus on your major classes. And freshman English was one of them, and that 5-hour calculus was another one. And so, but it's all about preparation. And so students really do need to get an early start, and so that if they're going to pursue STEM, they do need to have the advanced coursework by the time they get to the 12th grade. And that includes in math. It needs to be, calculus. They need to have taken that. And, in the sciences, if you can get through physics, that's fine. Definitely need some chemistry. So, because it's all about being competitive. Most schools are turning away people on the admissions process. They got way more qualified candidates than they can deal with or offer housing to, or, have the resources to admit. And so you're competing against people who are already ready. And so just because you got an advanced diploma, it does not mean really anything. It's about what comprises that advanced diploma. And even if you're taking the calculus, what kind of calculus are you taking? What kind of higher math are you taking? Are you taking the standard math, or are you taking the AP or the honors or the IB, International Baccalaureate version of it? Those things also matter. And so parents need to pay attention to all of that and not just let the kids pick out, what they're taking. And just because it's got an adjective advanced to it doesn't mean that it's going to garner some scholarship money or even admission to a good school.
Yeah. But I think it goes back to a lot of it is that we've dumbed down the educational system in pre-K.
We have.
For those who are out there hollering about we don't want to teach CRT, what is not taught in the high schools and college. I mean, high schools and junior high schools, and those who are out there talking about we want to ban books and all this other stuff. They want to also dumb down the educational system, so to keep everybody on, I say, on the dumb train. And, that is me myself. So I just had to get that off my chest.
But Colonel, we were waiting for it, but it came early this time.
I know.
It's those Confederates, right?
Yeah, the Confederates. The Confederates. Yes.
Those Confederates are out there.
Well, you have to keep that in the forefront.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, whether it's about admission or commission, school standards, I think are down. I think kids nowadays have way more options than we did, but the choice is there to either pursue it or not pursue it. And those kids that are aggressive or have parents that know better, you know, they sort of force their kids into the right tracks where they take advantage of all these, you know, the advanced placement coursework, the higher level coursework, you know, the governor schools, the magnet schools, you know, the schools that have the focus and the concentration in the things that are going to make them, you know, a more competitive student in the college admission process. And I think, you know, the sad part is that many of us, you know, as Black and brown people, we don't necessarily get that push or focus from home, because in a lot of cases our parents they don't know enough to know the difference in the different classes. And you know, it's sad to say, but we still got first generation folks going to college.
Oh yes, that's true.
You know? And
that's
so
true.
you can't, you know, you can't assume that even the parents know what the kids should be taking. You know, the kids are telling the parents, you know, what to do and what they need, and they don't know.
You know, I wonder what is the process in making decisions about schools, because, you know, at one time in Portsmouth, we had magnet schools.
Yes.
And we had the STEM schools, and everything is moving to CTE schools.
Right.
You know, and so it just seems as though those systems, we were just talking the other day about Norcom one time was a STEM school.
Yeah.
And you could go there and they had the robotics and they had all the other programs there in order to engage the kids in STEM activities. But I'm just, and I know you're not in the arena making decisions about schools, but I wonder what the thought pattern was to move from magnet schools to CTE schools. And the CTE schools are thinking that kids want to only do nail tech and barbering and things of that nature, when it's so much more out there for them. If you're going to be a CTE school, you should at least have maybe electronics or electrician and brick masonry or something, plumbing, you know, not just those nail techs and barbering. I mean, and nothing against, we need nail techs. We need nail techs, we need barbers, but
we need barbers.
It needs to advance beyond that. But I don't know what the thought pattern is. Like you said, the dumbing down of the education system.
Right. Well, you know, a lot of it is what's in vogue, and a lot of it is what employers in, you know, your state or locality are asking for. And so the industry's there, they need people, and they can either get the people locally, which is always a good thing for the community, or they bring them in from the outside. But the workforce requirements kind of largely dictate the employment level of you know, the surrounding area. So a lot of it it comes from that. And so trades, you always need tradesmen. You always need men and women. And so those will really never go away. You know, it used to be called industrial arts back in our day.
Exactly.
Right? Industrial arts, and you either took that track or you took you know, a collegiate track. And there's no reason why both of them can't be enforced.
Yes.
But you really do have to look at careers that are in demand now, and in the directions that careers are going. And CTE is nothing wrong with CTE, but there's only the demand for those jobs is limited, just like anything. But in STEM, I mean, as far as I can see, they're going to be needing STEM people.
Yes,
engineers and scientists.
So.
I mean, need them. You know, just last week or the last couple of weeks, you see where a lot of the IT people are getting laid off, you know, and whatever, 10,000 here, 20,000 there. That's really a drop in the bucket compared to the number of jobs that are out there. You know what I'm saying? In that area. Those people can walk off the job and go get another job. They may not get the job in the same city. They may have to go next door to the next city, or they may need to go to another state to get it. But the thing is that their career isn't over just because they got laid off. out of an IT job. IT jobs are plentiful, and they may not even have to leave home. You know, so many people are still working from home. IT, you don't have to have a presence. You just have to be able to do the magic on the keyboard and have the right access and security in place and so forth. So what schools are teaching should follow what the future requires. And we should be preparing students for the future, today and the future.
Exactly.
Not,
exactly.
you know, yesterday
Michael, I was also thinking about the fact that this windmill project is coming to Virginia. Portion of it will be in Portsmouth. And knowing that this was something that was in the making to be here soon, it looks to me, and I'm not an educator, okay, but it looks to me that plans should have been put in place to develop programs that we could have our students learning what the needs will be to be a part of this project when this project's brought to the city.
Yeah. The solar, I mean, not the solar, well, solar energy, as well as the wind farm project that Dominion is doing, the offshore.
Yeah, offshore.
I was out there a few months ago, well, back in the fall. I took a trip out there to see the two pilot windmills that they have out there. And I mean, they're going to have hundreds of those things. And the wind is always blowing. It's going to generate so much electricity. But, you know, they have people in government that don't want that to happen because it's still supporting.
Your ex-president.
Right. Well, even this governor we got now, you know.
That's right.
They're supporting, you know, they just want to keep the coal and
that's right.
You know, coal and the digging and you know, all this old dirty energy stuff. And the future is going to be on renewables. And that's what the jobs are. What they're going to build in Portsmouth over there in Sherson area somewhere, Crane Island somewhere, is all the support systems that are going to be needed to keep that thing going. Jobs are plentiful over there. And they're going to be good paying blue collar as well as white collar jobs to all the support that they're going to be needing for the wind farm, you know, the turbines and the blades and the motors and all the electronics and the computers and all that stuff has to get fabricated and maintained in something, and that's going to be the place where it gets done, and then they're going to ship it in and out, you know, through there. So that's going to be a bonanza for Portsmouth in terms of long-term, good-paying jobs that are going to require people with specialized skills and all kinds of tradesmen.
Yes.
Yeah, Michael, although you retired, your title is still an engineer. Once an engineer, always an engineer.
Yeah.
And once an alpha, always an alpha. So you are a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And you also were once a judge for the STEM programs that they used to have around here. I think the pandemic kind of slowed those things down, as well as some of the things you were doing over the years as far as introducing students to different programs at Virginia Tech and Norfolk State, encouraging them to go into engineering, as well as how to prepare yourself to be ready for that next step. I saw a report that, you know, we're putting engineers out there. North Carolina A&T is putting out the most Black engineers compared to Harvard and Yale. But still, like you said, you use the term in the bucket. There's still a drop in the bucket as far as the engineers that are out there, you know, that the jobs are out there for. Are you still, now it looks like you're continuing now, since the pandemic has slowed down, to plan these trips and do those things like you did before, giving kids an opportunity. I think once we talked before, a lot of kids won't take advantage of these free opportunities to visit. You know, so and you put a lot of it on the parents, and that's why we have this show, because most people watch this are the parents.
Right. Okay.
So is that kind of starting over again? Are you starting?
Yeah. Pandemic COVID did put the brakes on a lot of stuff. I used to judge quite a few, science fairs at the city level and the town science fair, and sort of a lot of that, just kind of ended, and now it's starting back up again. Usually the Tidewater Science Fair is in March sometime. I don't know if I'm gonna judge that or not. When you stop doing the regular things and other things creep in, and then your schedule gets so, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do it this year. But I work a lot with the College of Engineering at Virginia Tech, which is my alma mater, and they have an office in the College of Engineering called the SEED office, and SEED is CEED. It's a Center for the Enhancement of Engineering Diversity, and it's run by a good friend of mine, Dr. Beverly Watford. She and I were in school together. She was about a year behind me. She's a Black female mining engineer, so you think about, what mining engineering is, and you're like, okay, there's Black people doing that? Yes, there are. But she runs that office, and the SEED office really tries its best to recruit underrepresented students to Virginia Tech to pursue, engineering and science, including computer science. And so she has these programs, and I'm always sending out emails and calling people and trying to get kids to participate in these. And there are a number of pre-college programs there that I'm not going to try and name them all or go into them, but there are two that were pretty popular in this area because they involved Virginia Tech sending a bus, charter buses down to the area and inviting students, mostly juniors and sophomores, up to Virginia Tech, either for overnight stay or a day trip to Virginia Tech to see what the College of Engineering is all about and expose them to what engineering could be for them and the types of careers that they can have and the types of money they can make. And letting and we would always, in the early days we would fill a bus, but it's we're having a hard time getting people to go on these trips now. This program in particular, what I'm talking about, is called RISE, and it's called RISE, the Recruiting Initiative for Student Engineers. As a matter of fact, people can register right now for it. If you go to Virginia Tech's website, go to the College of Engineering, or just search for SEED, CEED, or RISE, RISE. You can find a link where as a sophomore you can register, and as a junior you can register. The sophomores this year will be going up. I'm looking at my notes here. When is that? 26 and 27. Okay, so sophomores on April 15th, they'll be going up. They have buses coming from Tidewater, Hampton Roads area, from Richmond and Northern Virginia.
Could you give me that information again?
It's called RISE, Recruiting Initiative for Student Engineers. I'll send this to you.
Thank you.
And so they're looking for sophomores. You have to be a sophomore, and it's a day trip. So everything is paid for. All you have to do is show up at the appointed pickup place. And some parents can go along. They can accommodate some parents too as chaperones, but the goal is to get the students. And they'll take them up, and they'll spend a whole day in the College of Engineering. That also corresponds with the spring football game. So they'll get to go to the spring football game, and they have a luxury suite box that they'll stay in, and they'll see the game. They'll meet professors and students who are currently running the engineering program or majoring in all the different engineering disciplines. And there's probably, 15 to 20 degrees that you can get from Virginia Tech in various types of engineering. And they can ask questions about, what can you do with your degree? What industries you're going to work? How hard is it? what do you need to prepare for it and so forth. But it's all about engineering, and there'll be a huge tailgate that the kids go to for free. They'll eat burgers and hot dogs and ribs and all this other kind of stuff. They have a good time. They go to the game, and they get to see the football team and just learn all about engineering at the same time. And they'll also do some tours of the laboratory facilities there. They'll meet professors and current students. And so that's what the sophomores do. That's a day trip. It's a long trip, but they come back the same day. This March 26th through the 27th is the engineering open house. They have this event every year. It's a public event, but Tech will be sending buses down again to the Richmond, Hampton Roads, and Northern Virginia to pick up kids that are underrepresented that they are interested in pursuing engineering at Virginia Tech. This is an overnight trip. Again, everything's paid for. They will pick them up at the appointed places. They'll stay overnight in a hotel, chaperoned, of course. And then the whole next day is the engineering open house, where every department at Virginia Tech, every engineering department will be on display. So all day long, they'll go from workshop to workshop to workshop. One for electrical engineering, one for mechanical, one for chemical, one for biomedical, one for materials, mining. You just name it, and all throughout the day on 20-minute time periods, they get a chance to go see something else. And they can explore the laboratories. They'll see robotics, just everything. So when they leave there, they'll have the best idea that they can about what is engineering, what I can do with it, what do I need to prepare for it, and what it would be like to go to Virginia Tech and pursue that degree. We'll take them into dormitories. They can see, what dorm life is like. The labs there, they have a number of creative spaces and design spaces there that kids will be able to see, where kids study, they work on projects, and they do the 3D printing or whatever they need to get their work done. This is all on display for these juniors that go up here for this trip, and they spend the night and they come back the next day. And the good thing about it is that if they go on these trips, they will now be known by Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech will invite them back from sophomore year 4 or 5 or 6 times up until the time they get ready to graduate from high school to various programs as part of a recruitment effort. And so they will have plenty of familiarity with Virginia Tech, and the hope is when they get ready to graduate or apply to college, they will apply to Virginia Tech.
Yeah, great program, and we'll share it, and hopefully people will get it in time in order so they can make the deadlines and everything like that. You mentioned one of your schoolmates was a engineer in mining.
Mining engineer, yes.
You are engineer in electricity. What are some of the other areas of engineering that students can go into?
Oh, there's a lot of them. Aerospace engineering, ocean engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical, chemical, materials, nuclear, petroleum, I said material science, industrial engineering, computer science is part of the College of Engineering now, but there's also computer engineering, construction, management.
I remember when you first came
civil engineering. It just goes on and on.
You mentioned about your only exposure about engineers was the guys that drove a train.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought it was when growing up. It's like, there's these guys that's riding on the train and pulling that, thing.
You just explained just explain all the different areas, whatever the interests of the students are. So
but there's so many new areas now just because of the way technology has advanced, and so you can find an engineering for everything. Tech just started at an undergraduate level a biomedical program, biomedical engineering program, at Virginia Tech. It used to just be a graduate program, you know, get a master's, PhD, but now they have joined VCU and University of Virginia and George Mason, I think. Yeah, those are the 3 or 4 that have biomedical engineering programs there. You know, of course, you know, my daughter, Tina, is a biomedical engineer. She got her degree from UVA. And she's doing quite well with that. And so, you know, medicine has benefited quite a bit from, you know, engineering and science, because, you know, we all get old, we need these bones to start breaking down, got to get all these implants and all this other stuff to help us live longer. And the key to it is materials and you know, biomechanics, and so that's what that field is. So it's wide open.
You know, Michael, you mentioned the, or I guess the, somebody mentioned the Confederate governor here, so I'm not going to get on. It's interesting how he's trying to block this project out there, and it's been holding it up. And Dominion is trying to move us into the next century with clean energy. But I saw recently on the internet and in the paper that he actually stopped the battery factory because it had a tie to China.
Yes.
That would have brought thousands of jobs here. Right? He didn't want to be, quote unquote, helping China, and it would be bad for his run,
presidential run.
Right. Yeah. So, it's all about politics, you know. It's politics. It's politics, and you know. And so that's always bad for America. You know, America has been living this, been fooling ourselves for so long that, you know, we it's hard to even for Americans to even see the truth nowadays. But we are so far behind the rest of the world in so many things, and we're going to be behind in renewables and clean energy and climate change, and we're just behind in technology. You go overseas in Europe and in China and anywhere in Asia, and you get on a train, and it's a super train, and you get on here, and all we got is clickety clackety stuff, you know, and it's just, we don't even know how far behind we are. And so this American exceptionalism that we pride ourselves on is really just American blinders, because, you know, we're closing ranks and we're listening to Confederates who all they want to do is milk the last dollar out of what systems that they got control over now, and they're not. We're not, as a country, leading. We're not pushing the state of the art in a number of things now that we used to, and you know, it's going to be our downfall. It really is. It's going to be our downfall.
You know, you mentioned the trains, and I remember when we took that trip over to Japan and got on the bullet train, and it was going 150, 200 miles an hour. It was like, no, you know, it was like moving.
Yeah, just smooth sailing. Same way in China and elsewhere. So we got to do better, and we do better by electing intelligent people who are not afraid of technology, but not beholden to the old. You know, the old industries are still going to be needed. You know, you don't just jump from one thing to the next, you transition. But our transition needs to be shorter, because things need to come to market faster.
Exactly.
And either you're buying it or you're selling it. You want to be selling it because that's where the money is made. If you're buying things, you're spending money. And so we've moved, you know, if you look at our balance of trade, you know, we're buying more than we're selling. And that's also part of you know, it's indicative of the where we are as a country, where we've been fooling ourselves into thinking that, you know, just because we got money, that things are going to continue to go our way, but they're not. They've already slipped away, and you know, the other people are just beating us to the punch at everything now, because we won't even educate our kids, because of politics.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, we don't want them to know certain things because it might make them feel bad.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, you know, that educational process, and as the Confederates rewrite history, can you tell us about a friend of yours, and she was in the movies or depicted in the movies on Hidden Figures?
Oh, Katherine Johnson, Dr. Katherine Johnson. Yeah, I worked with and knew very well Dr. Johnson, and as well as Mary Jackson. Of the three women that were in the movie, it was Katherine, Mary Jackson, and Dorothy Vaughan. I didn't know Dorothy Vaughan. She retired before I got to went back to NASA professionally. I think she retired in the 70s. So I didn't know her, but the other two I worked with, and we were colleagues, not only at NASA, but also we all belonged to the same professional organization, the National Technical Association, which was and is the first technical professional association of African American scientists and engineers in the country, founded in 1926 in Chicago. So we had a chapter here in the Hampton Roads area called the NTA Hampton Roads chapter, which Catherine and Mary and myself and many others, Christine Darden and several others, all belong to. Not all NASA, but mostly NASA folk. And part of what NTA is similar to all the things I do, which is trying to expose people, people of color, underrepresented folks, to opportunities in science and technology, and because that's just where it's at, and that's your breakout point there. So if you pursue STEM, you'll do well. I mean, the odds are Rivers Casino, and they got some dice over there. They got STEM and some other majors on it. You roll them dice, you better be betting on STEM. Okay. So and that's where it's at. And Catherine and Mary were passionate about it. We did many projects, math contests, SAT tutorials. We took kids on trips to the different companies to see, what the different career options were like. We did student symposia where we invited college level folks to NASA to see what NASA's about, what Black folks at NASA are doing. And they present their research or whatever they're doing at college at NASA, in front of NASA peer other engineers. So the exposure goes both ways. And so but just to get them familiar and comfortable about what they're pursuing. And of course NASA hires a lot of engineers too. It's hard to get in it, but once there's a sliver, you can get in. I wanted to mention one thing too. You asked me way back in the beginning, the career and the progression and so forth. So after college, during college, money, we didn't have a whole lot of money in our house. So I had to get a job, try to, finish paying my way. The money that I got, the scholarship money that I got to go to Virginia Tech was only 1 year money, most of it. And so I decided that I wanted to co-op, and co-op is like an internship, except it's more longer term and continuous with usually with one company, as opposed to internships. You might do this company and then the next semester do another company and whatnot. But anyway, so I went to the co-op office and I said, find me a job, please. And they said, well, you want to work for NASA? I said, yes. Okay, darn, I'm going to Cape Canaveral. I'm going to see some rockets, stuff going off and all this stuff. And they said, no, you're going to Hampton, Virginia. And that's like, no, there's no NASA in Hampton. We're talking about, I live in Portsmouth, ain't no NASA. So little did I know there was a NASA at Hampton, and it happened to be the first NASA center. And so I started co-oping at NASA in '76. And that's when my career started, because when I graduated, I think I had co-op 7 different quarters, and they offered me a job, and it was the lowest paying job that I had, but I took it because by the time that I got ready to graduate, I had worked in several different organizations there. I had met people, people knew me, I was comfortable. I knew they would send me to grad school on their dime, not mine. And my career had already started. As a sophomore in college, I was already a civil servant because they actually hire you as a co-op. Whereas a lot of internships, you're just sort of like a contractor, you're just there and there's no permanency to it. And so my career had already started while I was in college. And so when I graduated in 1980, I just continued on with that. And I held many different positions, mostly in the data systems area. But I started as engineer, project manager, got into management, was assistant branch head. At one time, I was the acting deputy director for aerospace testing. But I retired as the head of the technologies applications branch and the research director at NASA Langley. And that was in 2014. So I've been retired 9 years. And this is the first work I've done since then, getting up this early.
That's
So I want to get paid.
Well, Michael, James, and Colonel, as I explained earlier, I'm going to have to jump off early this morning. Okay. But I just want to say thank you so very much. And please send that information so we can share the information with the schools to let them know about these dates and what is going to take place during that time. Yeah. So once again, it's been a true pleasure meeting you. Look forward to talking to you further. I hate to jump off, but I do have something I need to take care of this morning. So God bless, and you all have a great day. And James, you can end the show when it's time, okay?
Okay.
See you later. Nice meeting you.
Michael, I just want to take you back to Katherine Johnson just for 1 minute, as we like 2 days away from Black History Month. And that's definitely a part of the Black history. And thank you for giving Renee and I an opportunity to meet Katherine Johnson. That was a great experience. And you also mentioned Christine Darden, who when I was in high school, the only class I ever failed was Algebra 1. My dad went out and found, I guess we didn't know, about her then, but he found the best tutor for me and tutored me through Algebra 1, and it helped me get through Algebra 2 and geometry.
Yes.
I stayed away from trigonometry. I was not going to be an engineer. Anyway, as you do what you're doing, as far as exposing students to Virginia Tech, we also have to make sure, especially during Black History Month, that they are aware of these people we mentioned, and it's a lot more ladies and male engineers that made some significant contributions to our country. And how important is it to you, with everything you're doing, that we make sure we keep that history? And you all mentioned about the Confederates of this state, what they're trying to do as far as history, but we have to keep that history in front of everything that we do as well.
Yeah. Well, Hidden Figures was written by a lady whose father I worked with. Bob Lee was worked in NASA Langley as well, and his daughter Margot wrote Hidden Figures, and it was largely based upon her experience as a child of a scientist, a NASA scientist, and how normal and regular it was to be in the presence of Black folks who are contributing to this nation's mission in space, science. In space on a regular basis. I mean, we would these people, Catherine, Bob, Christine, Mary Jackson, all these other folks, they were just regular people doing jobs that were regular jobs, but they were doing it exceptionally, and also in the face of all types of discrimination and conditions that were designed to hold them back. Systemic racism and discrimination were pretty rampant, and it was hard to even get assigned to a job. I mean, the women in Hidden Figures were all part of the black math pool. They were the human computers, the black ones. They had a white set too, and the white set, most of them didn't even have anything but a high school diploma. But all the black ones, they all had college degrees. But yet they were the ones that were not used at a level that they should have been used. And then you had a few breakouts, as you know, as the story goes. And once they got opportunities to work in certain areas, you saw how they excelled, even in the face of, you know, systemic prejudice in the workplace. And so, you know, Mary Jackson became the first African-American engineer, even though she had a math degree, a bachelor's degree, and she was doing engineering work in the wind tunnels. She couldn't, they wouldn't classify her as an engineer. So she decided to go back to school and take the required classes that were necessary. And of course, there was all kinds of roadblocks to that, but she did it and she succeeded. And that's how she became the first engineer. You know, the story of Katherine Johnson and doing the math. She was a wizard with math, and you know, they didn't trust. Computers were new, and they weren't foolproof. They still aren't foolproof now, but Katherine, they trust her answers, paper and pencil, more so than they did the computers when they tried to bring those along. And so, you know, she, you know, hand calculated all that stuff that sent Alan Shepard in space, John Glenn around in orbit, and Apollo to the moon, and even worked on, I believe, Viking before she retired, going to Mars. So all it took was opportunity. Folks were prepared. You know, these people come out of HBCUs, they're already prepared. And like in anything, if you're holding back people from their potential, you know, it's not good for anybody, and it's certainly not good for America. And America's supposed to be exceptional. Why are we doing that? Why are we still doing that? It's a question for your Confederate government office.
Yes.
Yeah.
And other people out there.
And one other little tidbit, and I have to mention Christine Darden because even though she was born in North Carolina, she spent a lot of time in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Even though she was a mathematician, she ended up working on sonic
boom, yes.
Sonic noise and the sonic boom. Remember when we were coming up, we heard these planes go by, and right, they go by, boom, you heard that? Right. She was working on things like that. And who would have thought that, you know, Black women were working on that kind of technology?
Yeah, that was just one of her specialties. And,
yeah, she had a lot.
We still don't have supersonic transports now that can fly over land. You know, so, you know, that was an area that has sort of like high interest and then low interest and high interest, low interest, ebbing and flowing. I think it's trying to come back now, but we still don't have supersonic transport that you can get on, you know, go down to, you know, Norfolk International and get on one and fly to, you know, Australia somewhere in 2 hours or whatever. You know, that's really what we want, and we still don't have that. But you know, it's interesting that when we lived in Bonneville, you know, Christine Darden lived right next door to us. She was to the right. I mean, I didn't know. We were little then. I didn't know really who she was then. I mean, I knew she was that lady next door, but I didn't know she was that person, that NASA person. And so, how small our world is, and we have these gems all over the place. And you know, and then when you learn about them, it's a shame that we don't know more about the gems that are in our communities on a more regular basis. You know, February, Black History Month coming around, so we might learn about a few more, but you know, that's just the 1 month, and we need to be learning and seeing, you know, year round. And we need to do that more. And more organizations need to take that mantle up and, you know, and hold our people up on a daily basis as opposed to an annual basis.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yes. And you know what, as the Confederates try to rewrite history, it's all more important that we know our history, because if we don't know our history, then we repeat the problems and issues of yesterday. And you know, they've already spilled around with our institutional racism and outright racism that's perpetrated on our people, Black and brown people, more so now than it was down in the 60s and 50s, you know. And so we're going to need help. And one of the issues I always says is that you know, people need to get out here and vote. That's the only the real power that you have. And also to participate in the educational system, grabbing everything that if they can teach, if there's classes or degrees or whatever, you have to grab everything that you can get your hands on. Because in my military career, I always said that you always had to, for me to be equal, I had to have twice as much. And I remember coming through, and up until I made Lieutenant Colonel, I had never seen a Black male 06. And then when I pinned on, I was the 7th African-American male to make 06 in our Army Nurse Corps. So that's how rarefied air was, as I say, back in the day. But that back in the day is still here. You know, those same problems are magnified. And so we have a ways to go in America. And part of me says it's a shame that we have to live through this, but it's up to us to tell our young folks that the struggle still is on. You are still not free out there.
Yeah, a lot of young people, you know, they live in a different environment and everything, and they believe everything on the internet is real and kind of things like that. I say that jokingly, but you know, a lot of our young kids out here, they don't even recognize racism when they see it. They don't recognize when they are being discriminated against when it's there, but they don't see it because it's just different. And it comes in different forms. But they don't recognize it. As parents, we do have to be active participants in our kids growing up. We have to go to school board meetings. We have to go to PTA meetings. Forget the school board meeting. We need to go to PTA meetings because that's where the boots meet the ground at the school that your kid is going to. And if you don't really know what's going on at school, then you're almost doing a disservice to your child, because the child basically going to be telling you what's going on as opposed to you guiding him through what is going on. And so we need more parent involvement at every level, and it starts, say, with PTA meetings and going to these meetings with the teachers on a regular basis to find out how your child is doing and what they could be doing better. You need to know what each school offers, and you need to force their kids to take hard stuff. You know, life is hard, and either they learn how to deal with it early on and get used to it, or they're just gonna flounder and fail at it, or by trial and error later on. So I mean, I always say the harder you work now, the less you're gonna have to work later, and that's been true in just about everything. And so if you work hard early in school, it'll be easier later. You don't have to like math or science to pursue it, but you better know it. Because there's not a job anywhere out here nowadays that you're not using the computer, that you don't need to know some math or at least or some science. It's just, everything is just complicated and technical, and so you got to have it. So allowing yourself to sort of run away from it, to me, you're just handicapping yourself because, you know, STEM and technology, the world is it. That's where it is. And You got to know it, and parents really do need to make sure that the kids are taking those things. Make sure the kids are participating in science fairs. As simple as science fairs are, it's not a big deal, but it's a way to, it's something that all kids need to do. But it's optional, and you don't see a lot of our kids participating in it, and that's a travesty. And then parents need to make kids do these things.
Yeah.
Yes, it's in the parents' hands. And
yeah, it's parents.
Michael, as we close out, we want to say we appreciate you coming on and getting up early. And we're going to have you back, but we'll schedule you for one of those 7 p.m. In your retirement. We don't want to put you in back in a work situation that you have to get up this early, but we appreciate you getting up this early, and you always share valuable information, especially to the parents. A lot of times you're talking to those parents because they have to take control, and they are in the driver's seat as far as getting their students to do certain things or to excel. I guess all of us can remember coming up how our parents pushed us. My dad used to embarrass me. Guys would be over the house, and he just walking there. You done your homework yet?
Yeah.
And all those guys would walk out laughing. But when it came down to the end of the school, who passed and who failed?
Right. Exactly.
Because of that parental push. It might have got on your nerves sometime, but it really paid off in the long run. So we appreciate you sharing that information and like you do all the time when you come on here. And I'm sure if the Colonel has any last statements, and the last statements can be for our guests if he has any.
Well, Michael, I thank you for getting up early this morning, because I know how it is. Since we are both retired, I get up here because Slim gets me up here on this Monday mornings. But it's been a enlightening experience, and it brought back a lot of memories from back in the day. And I'll hark on our past, but I look at the future for our young kids out here. And you mentioned the parents and the parent involvement. Just don't get, and I'll tell this to the parents, just don't get involved when your kid is in trouble. And that's what I see over and over again. And so that's the wrong time to get into it. It's too late then. If you get in the front end, then you won't have to go back and when they're in trouble, but you still have to support your kids and be involved in their educational process. And so they'll turn out much better kids than what they are, or have a better future than what they're the track that they're on now without any guidance, because kids don't know. And I always say, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'll go on from there. And so I'll leave it for you next.
Well, I'll just amplify that by saying, again, it is up to the parents. And if a parent doesn't know what to do, then you ask another parent who does know what to do. But, you only get just one shot to raise a kid and get them pointed in a direction that's going to make their life better than the one that you had. And so I think that's every parent's goal. They want kids to do better than they did, have more opportunities than they had, and to be more successful at whatever than they did. But it's not something that you got to figure out after you're a teenager. It's something that it starts early. It starts, right as soon as they get to grade school and elementary school. It's how they make use of their time. Everybody's a screen baby now, looking at screens, tablets, and all this kind of stuff. Well, what's on that tablet? It's the parents determine what's on there. Is it something stupid, or is it some games, or is it something that they're really learning from? And so it starts with something as simple as making sure that your kid is learning at every opportunity and expanding their mind and doing creative things as opposed to babysitting things and mind-numbing things. And, Well, I'm not. I'll just leave it right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just leave it right there.
Yeah, I know you want to go in on,
Yeah.
but I think they got the message. But we appreciate you, and like I said, you'll be back and to expand on those things even more. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna make sure you watch. And I want to thank all the people that were watching on Facebook Live. And next, please watch Thursday on our evening edition show, when we'll start off the Black History Month with our guest who has been on here before. It'll be Dr. Coletta Fairfax, a professor at Norfolk State University, specializing in history. She'll be coming on, leading off our Black History Month. And then the next Monday is going to be an all host. We're going to talk about our experiences in Black history and growing up. And we will introduce another guest host, Roderick Hawthorne. We're bringing in a younger version. We have Dr. Ernestine Duncan as a guest host that comes periodically. And now we're bringing on Roderick Hawthorne, who will give us a younger perspective on some of the things that we share here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk. We appreciate you, and Coffee Talk is here for our voice, our community, and
our future.
All right. Yeah. So thanks, everybody, and we appreciate you, and we'll see you this Thursday at 7 p.m. Take care, Michael.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
And you might as well stay up. Don't go back to sleep.
I'm not.
You're already in space. It'll take you a long time to get back to Earth. So take care, everybody.
Take care now.
I'll let y'all sign off first. I want to make sure.
Oh, I was waiting for you to do you're still on live.
Right. Yeah. Leah's going to have to turn off the live.
Okay. All right. I'll sign off then. Maybe that'll shut it down.
Yeah. I wanted to shut down last, make sure.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay.